It is Thursday, May 30th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today presented to you by our friends over at Factor. Don't forget to get that Factor question of the weekend by tonight so we can make you nice and famous and use it on Friday's show. Speaking of nice and famous, that is my man Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, and intern Tommy along for the ride as well. A lot of stuff to get into. Holy smokes, do we have a lot to unpack. But first, we will start with a tip of the cap, and we take you down to St. Petersburg, where Jose Siri made a remarkable catch, perhaps game-saving catch, in the top of the ninth to keep this game knotted at 3 with 2 down as he goes over the wall, and then a half inning later gets his first walk-off knock of his career. Dude, let's start with the catch. The catch was fantastic.
Yeah, little shades of Kevin Kiermaier out there at the Trop. I loved it. Jose Siri is always just fun to watch, kind of no matter what he's doing. Even if he's playing poorly, I'm like, oh, that guy's still fun to watch. I even saw he was wearing a Bone Thugs and Harmony vest, which hit me and a lot of people my age very dearly and near to the heart. But yeah, he's a walking highlight reel, and he's got the swag. He's kind of like everything you want. Needs to step it up a little bit offensively, though. Let's go.
I think Bone Thugs and Harmony, I think they're Cleveland.
They are? Of course they are, Cleveland.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, good. That way to get the show going in the right direction, even though my team just had a series loss out in Colorado, but we don't have to talk about that. We don't have time to talk about that because we got to talk about the Mets for a second straight day. It was almost like it was right on cue. They end up getting swept at home by the Dodgers. What a terrible 8th inning for them, right? Lopez gives up a opposite field shot to Shohei Ohtani. Next hitter and Freddie Freeman has a check swing that he doesn't like, starts arguing with the third base ump. He gets ejected, and as he's walking off the field, what happens? He throws his glove over the netting, past the dugout, and into the stands. That was just the beginning. Here's his skipper.
You're going to see some emotions from players and from anybody in here. But what we saw today at Olopi, that's not acceptable. And we will address that. We will address that internally here. But one thing is to, once in a while, obviously, but not what we saw today.
I don't regret it. I think I've been looking the worst team probably in the whole MLB. So
just to clarify what you said, just because I didn't fully understand. Did you say I'm on the worst team? Is that what you had said?
Yeah, probably. It looked like.
Okay, so after that, Jorge Lopez was DFA'd by the Mets. We are going to get a lot more clarification, it sounds like, at some point today before the Mets game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's Steve Gelbs, who is the outstanding field reporter for SNY, asking the follow-up just for some clarification. There's a lot to get to, but let's start with the fact, any problem with the Mets DFAing him?
I don't know. I've been going back and forth on that. I don't think initially he meant I'm on the worst team in the big leagues. I think it was like a lost in translation thing. I think he meant to say I was been the worst teammate. And then when he got asked again to clarify, he's like, well, yeah, maybe I am on the worst team. All kind of like and this is just my interpretation of it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like when Logan Webb in San Francisco said, we've been playing, like dog shit. Like, I think he was trying to say, yeah, we've been a horrible team, which they have been. But yeah, I don't think he meant that initially, but when you kind of like double down on that, there at least needs to be a closed door meeting, a talking to a little bit about how you want to present the organization, how you want to present yourself. I don't know about DFAing. Maybe there's some other stuff that's been going on that we don't know about, but just from straight up those comments, I don't know if that weathers a DFA. And he's actually like, I was like, man, like what's the season look like? He's actually had a pretty dang good season up until the last couple outings. So he's been a valuable pitcher to them, save the last couple outings. I think in my interpretation of this, it's a little bit of an overreaction from the Mets. And I don't think Mets fans want to hear that, because I think they do want to see roster shakeup. They want to see change. They're frustrated with how the team is playing. But I gotta say, like, I think this was just one of a lost in translation moment. This is a second language, and sometimes things get jumbled up. And in the heat of a moment, when you're emotional and you feel like you're not giving your best effort, and clearly we saw that the emotions were getting the best of him when he threw the glove. And how he handled that whole situation. So I would have liked to see the Mets call him in today and talk to him a little bit about it and say what's going on before DFAing him. But that's only if there's not other stuff going on that we don't know about, Chris.
Right. So I want to backtrack a little bit. I think the DFA is a report. I don't believe that the Mets have put out officially that he's been DFA'd as of the taping of the show. There was also a part where I think somebody asked him, have you met with your manager? And he said no, when in fact there are reports that he had met with his manager and with David Stearns, the president of baseball ops there with the Mets. So obviously there's something going on there. This is an organizational failure on many levels. There was a closed-door post-game team meeting, apparently called by Francisco Lindor, and that lasted it sounds like close to 20 minutes. So it's not like, hey, Jorge Lopez got ejected through his mitt, and all of a sudden he's available. There sounds like there was a substantial cooling off period, perhaps a meeting with the manager and the president of the team. But the Mets should have put an interpreter right next to him. I have seen plenty of times in this sport where there are guys who are fluent in English, not 100%. Jorge Lopez, as we just heard in that soundbite, does speak English. But as you mentioned, it is his second language. And when we're getting into something that's more than, hey, did you throw a slider there? Did you miss with your fastball? Let's make sure that he is as protected as he can be.
100%. That's why they're there, Chris.
Exactly. So let's make sure. I can tell you this. Andres Jimenez of the Cleveland Guardians does speak English. There are times he will do interviews in English. There are other times where he wants the interpreter there, and exactly. That's what you're paying for. Let's make sure that in this time, when we know that he was overheated, that he did something that perhaps he regrets or doesn't regret, but make sure that he is getting out his thoughts 100% accurately. Okay? I felt like he was kind of floating by himself out there.
I do too. I do too. And so our group chat, Talking Baseball group chat, was talking about this last night, and Jimmy came up with this theory, and I hope he's okay with me sharing it here. He thinks that in that closed-door meeting, Lindor probably said, hey, we're playing like the worst team in the big leagues, and we're not that. I'm sure something of that ilk came out. And so then you ask Jorge Lopez to clarify his statement. He's like, yeah, like we are. Like we're playing, like essentially saying we are the worst team. We're playing like the worst team. Again, you did clarify that the Mets haven't officially said they've DFA'd him, although I've seen so many reports of it.
I know.
I would have liked for them to call him back in today and said, what's going on, man?
Right. A couple other things. Throwing a glove is not the end of the world. I have seen plenty of players, including Bryce Harper, throw stuff in.
Yeah, I thought, who cares about that? Some fans stoked going home with a glove.
Right. Like, that's not that big a deal. It's not like he threw it overhand at a fan. He threw it in the air. Everybody was safe, all that sort of stuff. Is it a little embarrassing? Maybe. I actually got a chuckle out of it. I was like, oh, shit, he launched it. Like,
dude, so many times guys, when they're frustrated with how they're playing, will go give their gear away. Because like, this one ain't working.
Right. So
I gave batting gloves away all the time because I was like, these ones, nope, no hits in these. Here you go.
Yeah. The other side of this is that when Jorge Lopez was with the Twins last year, I don't know how familiar you are with this, even though you cover the team, that he was put on a disabled list because
the mental health list.
Right. And so we don't know exactly what he's going through. If you do a little more deep diving, you understand that he's got a son who is on a transplant list. So he is dealing with a very serious health issue within the confines of his family as well. I'm not saying that excuses you being unprofessional, because people do have to show up to work, whatever line of business you're in, and we all have to deal with stuff. But I'm just saying that sometimes let's take a big step back here, okay, and really look at what is going on in his life and how people can help other people instead of just saying, do you see what Jorge Lopez did. The Mets are coming unraveled at the seams. Like, I think we do need to take a step back.
Well, that part is true. The Mets are coming unraveled at the seams. I can't believe this. Like things like these or things like this happen so often to the Mets. It's crazy. On a professional level, if the Mets do DFA Jorge Lopez, I assume that a team will pick him up almost immediately.
I would agree with that. I don't think there's any question about it, and I wouldn't have any problem with it. You know, it's
me neither.
I hope that we can all kind of grow and learn from this a little bit, because as funny as seeing a glove tossed in the stands, that part we can all laugh at and we'll have it forever. And 10 years down the road, we'll all say, oh, we'll bring that back, that video, because it was so funny. There's some other stuff going on here that maybe somebody needs a little help. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not assuming anything. I just think we need to uncover stuff. Let's get to the Mets side of this, where I did say unraveled at the seams, and you agreed with that.
Yes.
I can't imagine that Steve Cohen, although I think he's been fairly patient in his tenure as the New York Mets owner, wakes up very happy today. Do you think he could take any sort of drastic measures? And I'm not talking about firing the manager, getting rid of this guy, but maybe going into the clubhouse and saying, guys, let's clean our shit up.
I mean, I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know him at all. Like if I am Steve Cohen, okay, I might look at this investment and say, can I sell this team for more than I bought it for right now? And get this has been crazy. Like he's understanding now that it's going to take so much more than just money to get this organization where he wants it to be. And who really wants to be part of something that you seem like you can't fix? Like guys like that want to be able to fix problems. They want to go in and be able to do things and make a great product. He hasn't really been able to do that, save like what, a year out of his tenure. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, Chris. Like, do you think that he's sitting there sometimes drinking his coffee or whatever he does, and you might drink something way cooler than that because he's so rich? Like, who knows? Do you think he's like, what did I get myself into?
I don't think so, because he's a lifelong Mets fan. And I think if there's just one team he could have pointed to and said, I want them regardless, it's the team he grew up rooting for. So I think he's in it for the long. I think he's seen some good times as a Mets fan, and he's seen some disasters, and he is right in the middle of the tornado right now.
I lean what you're saying too, Chris. I would lean that way too, but I gotta imagine there were times where it's like, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
Because he can't really do anything about it. What can Steve Cohen do besides what he's already done, which is pour money into the team?
I don't know.
Nothing.
I mean, like I said, I mentioned this earlier on the show, not today, but a few weeks ago, that if we were going to have an owner draft, he's getting picked pretty high because of the resources he can provide and the interest he seemingly has in the squad and all of that. I mean, he brought in David Stearns. Right? I think there's a lot of teams that wanted to get their hands on him. And
I think David Stearns is drinking his coffee and being like, what did I get myself into?
Listen, bro, every 1st and 15th, he's feeling fine, and he probably is up for the challenge and likes the resources that are available. Now, yesterday, you called me nuts when I pronounced them DOA at 12:02 Eastern on this show.
I didn't. No, that's not what happened. You're putting words in my mouth.
I
said they can go on a run. Does this change it? No, I still think they can go on a run. I don't think, But I did text Jolly Olive this morning. What did I say to him? I said, why are the Mets like this? I don't get it. He goes, you think I do? I'm at a loss for words, bro. So reach out to Jolly Olive today and just send him some well wishes. I think he needs it today.
He certainly does. We'll keep our eye on this one. I have a feeling the story is not – this chapter is fully closed yet. Let's move on to a pair of great pitching performances in Motown. They played a doubleheader. Game 1 went to Detroit thanks to Tariq Skubal, who's just been phenomenal. 7 more innings, shutout baseball. They take Game 1. Then Paul Skenes celebrated his 22nd birthday yesterday with his 2nd Major League win, 6 solid innings, 9 more strikeouts. Now, I ask you this. If the rookie continues at this pace for, say, the next month, will we see him in Arlington for the All-Star game?
I think so. Like every team has to be represented. I'm going through the statistics here, and like there were some worthy people. Connor Jones got off to a really good start. Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, even Bailey Falter. They all have good numbers. But the All-Star game's about, the stars of the game. You do have to earn it. I am on that side where I want guys to absolutely earn the All-Star game because it does mean something to players. And even though it's a weird way they do it and there's fan voting and it's only half the season, it still means so much to players. So I want guys to earn it. If he continues to throw and he's got a 2.4 through 8 or 9 starts, I think we definitely see him in the All-Star game because I just don't see somebody else on that team. Colin Holderman's got a 0.5, but you're not really bringing a reliever like that. I think Skenes with like the star power he has, plus, he's clearly already one of the better pitchers in the big leagues. If he continues on this pace, Chris, I do think we see him in the All-Star game.
To me, it's a no-brainer. But, I've been in this boat for years. When Yasiel Puig came up, I want to say it was either right at the end of May or beginning of June, the first time we saw him, and he burst onto the scene. I was like, oh, my God, we've never seen anything quite like this. I was like, let's put him in the All-Star game. We need to. And I got a lot of pushback about it. Like, no, you got to earn your way on. I was like, what is this game called? The All-Star game. Now, that doesn't mean that you always pick the most famous players if they're not deserving. But I think in a case like this, where we were all wondering why Paul Skenes was down in the minor leagues throwing in Indianapolis instead of Pittsburgh and could have made probably 2 more starts for the Pirates instead of Indianapolis, then, yeah, first of all, he's got to continue on. He can't get rocked and end up at 2-4 with an ERA of 4.17 or whatever. That I'm not going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
But if he is like this or close to what we have seen through 4 starts, who the hell's not going to want to watch him pitch? We need to see him. We need to continue to promote him. I told you I want to see every one of his starts on national TV.
That's a little much, but yes, I do think that he will be in the All-Star game if he continues. What, every start on national TV?
Yes, because you and I have access.
Is Garrett Cole going to get the same treatment?
He's not playing right now.
I'm just saying, like, dude, there's guys that are at his level or higher. They've been doing it way longer. That, like, come on.
How many guys, be honest, how many pitchers right now are you saying I have to see every one of their starts?
I don't have to see every Paul Skenes start. I'm sorry. I don't.
I think you're different. Dude, Brady, who is graduating from high school this weekend, shout out, buddy. I love you.
Love you, Brady.
That away. He was out of the house, came back. He's like, when's Skenes throwing? I said, he's throwing game 2. He's like, great. Can't wait.
Can I admit something to you?
Mm-hmm.
I actually did do the math to see if I was going to see him when I called the Twins versus the Pirates game. So look, I know what you're saying. He's the shiny new toy. He's a stud. Like, he deserves the attention that he's getting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the off the field stuff either. Although that obviously helps in, why people know who he is, but it's the on the field stuff that is important to me. I just think, like, national TV every single start is a little much for me, Chris.
I don't think so. I think you get it to as many people as possible. I know that there's a lot of baseball fans that have streaming services and should be able to get the game, just about anywhere, but let's help them out. Let's make it easier. Let's not make it harder to go see our stars. All right. Father's Day right around the corner. I want to help you out. I'm telling you, our friends at Ridge are back with an exciting new product. You can now get Ridge's signature wallets with your favorite MLB team logo on it. Their officially licensed debut collection includes not 1, not 2, not 5, not 10, but all 30 major league teams. So go get this bad boy. It is perfect for dudes that hate the oversized wallet. Like, if you all remember the show Seinfeld or have watched it if you're younger, and George Costanza had the enormous wallet that he just shoved everything in, this thing puts that to shame. It is perfect for all of your cards. You can hold up to 12 cards, plus you got room for cash if you still use that. Now, Ridge is making gifting easier with these great wallets. As I mentioned, they're perfect for Father's Day or a birthday or whatever you want to celebrate. The wallets have over 100,000 five-star reviews. They've got durable material, means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. And if you don't love it after 99 days, send it back. No questions asked, although I'm going to guarantee that you're not sending this bad boy back. So head on over to ridge.com/JohnBoy to get yours today. They're offering markdowns up to 30% for Father's Day. So go act now. That is ridge.com/JohnBoy.
They also sent me one. The Twins logo looks great on it. It's inside my house right now. I said, hey, do I need to go get this? And you guys said no. And I'm actually happy about it because I thought I was going to give it to like my dad for Father's Day. Hey, this is a great Father's Day gift. But then when I took it out and I like put my stuff in, I was like, no, sorry, Dad. I'm going to have to buy you another one.
Both Josh and Brady were like, oh, can I have that? I was like, nah.
Yeah.
How about I get something?
No.
Thank you.
Hey, you guys start a YouTube show that's popular, okay?
Very popular.
The most.
Wednesday was a fantastic day for a bunch of American League shortstops. Anthony Volpe extended his hit streak to 21 games for the Yankees. More on that contest coming up in a little bit. Gunnar Henderson now tied for the AL lead in homers with 18 after a grand slam. And how about Corey Seager? We mentioned yesterday 7 homers in 7 games. Now make it 8 homers in 8 games. Rangers swept the Diamondbacks in a World Series rematch. Now, when you watch Corey Seager, I don't want to ask you if he is a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
I want to ask if you feel like you're watching a Hall of Famer, because I think there's a difference.
I would say, and this is kind of a difficult question to answer, I would say that he's a Hall of Fame caliber player. He has the ability to play at a Hall of Fame level every single night he steps on the field. Mm-hmm. The difference between being a Hall of Fame caliber player and being in the Hall of Fame is longevity, staying on the field, racking up those counting stats. He doesn't have the counting stats right now, Chris. Like he's, 33. He's hit 33 homers the last 2 years, and a shortened year last year where he, clearly if he was on the field more, he would have probably reached into the 40s or something like that. But like those are the numbers that you just have to keep compiling year after year after year. And he's 30 years old right now. When does his deal goes through 32? I think is that what it is?
Something like that.
Through 31. So quick math, that's 7 more years of doing it. I think even if he played like really, really good baseball for 7 more years, it still probably wouldn't be enough. The guys that make the Hall of Fame, they start so early and they played so long and they were on the field and healthy all the time. So I guess to answer your question, I do see a Hall of Fame caliber player. Like he's a nut, dude. Like his swing is so freaking good. Actually, you know what? I actually showed his swing. I had this tweet. Somebody put it out. I don't know who it was. And it just showed like the ability of him keeping his hands back as he went forward. And I showed it to a bunch of my youth guys last night as we were hitting on the field. And a lot of that clicked for them just watching that video. So like the ability is there, but I don't know if we're seeing a Hall of Famer just because of the counting numbers that you need to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's why I said watching. I feel like we are. I just feel he's so interesting because when I drew up the question, I was like, why don't we talk about him more? And I feel like because he's kind of like the Tim Duncan of this sport. And for people that didn't see Tim Duncan's Hall of Fame basketball career, he stayed with one team in the San Antonio Spurs. He was as dominant as anybody who played the game, the big fundamental, but he was kind of just boring, right? He was.
You think Corey Seager's boring?
I think he's boring from the standpoint of he's so good that we take his ability for granted. And I think that's the same thing with Tim Duncan. That's why they called him the big fundamental. Who the hell wants to be nicknamed the big fundamental?
I think Corey's shown more emotion than Tim Duncan would on the baseball field. I think he's not going to be the guy that, has the home run dance or, the pop in the chain everywhere. That's just not who he is. So if that's what you want to say, like it makes him boring, I guess. Okay. But like his play on the field is exceptional. He has enthusiasm,
but it's not,
I think what's that?
It's not flashy.
It's not flashy, but like if you watch baseball and see the plays he makes, like sometimes, yeah, he's one of those guys that makes it look a little easier than it is. But I think another problem with this is like he's kind of, he's been injured throughout his career. He hasn't played like 4 or 5 seasons straight putting up these numbers. Like we've seen him miss time, and I think sometimes when that happens, you tend to think about guys a little bit differently.
I will say this as far as the counting stats, and in particular the power categories, he's 24th right now in homers by a shortstop all time. Those are guys who predominantly played shortstop, like A-Rod's number 1, even though he played, half of his career over at third base. They still count him shortstop. There's only 4 guys who had shortstop as their primary position with at least 300 homers. You want to name them?
4 guys that played primary shortstop that have 300 homers.
Well, I just gave
you're
you
putting me on the spot right now.
I just gave you one.
Well, A-Rod. Okay, so A-Rod.
Yep. There's another guy in the 500 home run.
Cal Ripken.
Okay, he's third. Yep. He had 431, by the way.
Who am I forgetting?
There's a Hall of Famer.
I don't know. Tell me.
Ernie Banks.
Okay.
512. And then the last one is Miguel Tejada.
Where's Hanley Ramirez at?
He's next. I think he's 5th all time.
People forget how good Hanley Ramirez was.
He was a bad man because he could do it all. He had pop. He won a batting title. He was really good.
I mean, I don't know about. He was just the smoothest cat around, man.
He was great. Yeah. All right, let's move on to another interference call. This time it was the Yankees, their first inning out in Anaheim. Bases loaded, 1 out. Stanton pops one up right around second base. Zach Neto kind of is drifting, going forward, going backward, runs into Soto. And so they immediately call not only infield fly, batters out, but Soto is out for interference. This is the second time in a week we saw that game-ending play in Chicago between the Orioles and the White Sox, where Andrew Vaughn barely brushed Gunnar Henderson, and that call actually ended the game. This one ended the night for Aaron Boone, who got ejected. Afterward, Boone said, listen, the rule was interpreted the right way. The rule sucks. Does Major League Baseball have to almost have like an emergency stay here and say, hey, we got to get this rule out of here because it's stinking up the joint?
Again, like, yes, we have this rule. Yes, the rule sucks, but like the umpires need to have some freaking feel here. If that's too much to ask, then I guess it's too much to ask. I don't know. Yeah, maybe the rule does need to change. When it happened in the Orioles White Sox game, Vaughn was it Vaughn, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Vaughn was off of the base. So like I can see where, he needs to get back to the base, whatever it is. Where is Juan Soto supposed to go?
Well, he's supposed to go back to the base. My guess is
where's he supposed to go, Chris? If he's off the base and tries to get out of the way because the ball landed right near the base. If he's off the base and Neto catches that and tags the base, he's out.
Right. I agree with everything you're saying. My guess is that if the umpires and Major League Baseball were to explain the rule to Juan Soto and every other base runner in that situation, you have to get back as quickly as you can and you have to avoid the fielder or you'll be called for interference.
How do you avoid the fielder? You have to stand on the base. There's only so much room to be on the base. Like, where is he supposed to go?
I suppose he could have gone inside. I'm agreeing with you. Like, I think,
it's just.
I don't think they made the wrong call. I just think that we have to look at something because the idea of the infield fly rule is actually to protect the base runner. It's not to protect the fielders, because if you don't have that rule, Neto could be under it the whole time and then just let it fall, grab it quickly, and you could get a double or a triple play depending.
Why don't we just call dead ball on an infield fly?
I agree.
Dead ball. You're out. That base runners, you can do jumping jacks and somersaults all over the place, but like we're going to go back to the base that you're out, dead ball.
Although I guess people kind of like the idea that you could advance at your own risk. I don't know the last time somebody tried to advance on an infield fly.
I don't know either.
Okay, let's get to the good part for the New York Yankees. It continues to be the dominant performance of Luis Gil. Last night he saw the 8th inning for the first time ever as a starter. 1 run, ERA under 2 for the year. On a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked are you with his performance through 2 months?
So the numbers, yes, I'm shocked at what his numbers are. But I the first time I saw him pitch in spring training, I was like, who the hell is this guy? Where did he come from? And now every time he throws a good start, I appeal in my mentions, he came from the Twins, bro, for Jake Cave. So I get reminded of that all the time. But when you watch him throw the ball, you understand like he's got the stuff to be elite. The walks have plagued him throughout his career. And then obviously the injuries. But now that he's healthy and he's even started to rein the walks in a little bit, he's got electric stuff. There's a great article right now from Thomas Harrigan. It's on MLB.com. Mm-hmm. And he goes and compares Luis Gil to Garrett Cole. And there's a lot of similarities in numbers in the way their fastball plays. It's actually, I was shocked to see the comparison, but he does a really good job and not just saying, oh, look, he's off to this great start. You know, he looks like Garrett Cole. Like there's like some things that he's doing with his fastball that Garrett Cole does. So am I shocked at, you know, a 199 and what he's done? Yeah, I'm shocked. I'll give you a number. I'm shocked at a 7. Mm-hmm. But if I didn't see him in spring training before, I would have been even shocked even more. But as soon as I saw this guy, I knew he was going to be a good pitcher at the big level. This good, I think, is a reach for anybody to say they saw this coming.
Yeah, for me, it's an 8 or a 9. He just completed one of the most dominant pitching months in Yankees history. He gave up 3 runs in his starts total. Had the 3rd lowest ERA by a Yankee in any month since ERA became an official stat in 1913. So good for him. I think the interesting question just to throw out there, assuming the Yankees end up playing in a 5-game series somewhere down the road, or even if they have to be a wild card and do a 3-game series, let's say something like that. What game is he pitching, assuming that Garrett Cole comes back to full health?
If he's looking like this, 2 or 3?
I mean, 2.
I think you could make a case for Marcus Stroman. Like he's a big game pitcher, and I think you can make a case for him as well. But I would agree that he's pitching at the 2 spot right now if it's still throwing like this. Here's a few numbers real quick. Garrett Cole through 10 starts in 2023. 2.01 ERA, Luis Gil 2.11 ERA. 2.97 FIP for Garrett Cole, 2.93 FIP for Luis Gil, 1.01 WHIP for Luis Gil, 1.09 for Garrett Cole, 68 strikeouts for Cole through 10 starts in 2023, 70 for Luis Gil through 2024. Go check the article; it's really cool.
The only other thing with him is the walks. He had really only 1 bad walk game in the month. He had 4 walks in 1 contest, so he's starting to kind of rein that in, figuratively and literally. And we'll see how the innings. You know, he's never had massive innings. We'll see coming back from.
Yes. Yeah. That's going to be something to watch for sure.
Yeah. But as far as the first 2 months, he's been as surprising as anybody. Good for him and good for the Yankees. Speaking of surprising, the start of Shota has been great until last night, where his ERA went up by over a run. He allowed 5 earned runs in his first 9 starts before being charged with 7 on Wednesday in the loss to the Milwaukee Brewers. Here he is with his interpreter. I want you to listen to what he says, particularly at the end of this.
I used the past 10 days. It was good for recovery. Got my training in, and, you know, I felt good, but unfortunately today it wasn't there. And so I want to apologize to counsel for not having it today.
He apologized to his manager. If you're Craig Counsell and you hear that, what is your reaction?
If I'm a Mets fan, I'm punching air right now. like, can our guys handle it like this, please? If I'm Craig Counsell, I go give him a hug and I say, I love you so much. Then I go to the front office and I say, can I have more of these guys? Can you go find me more of these guys? That's just, I know that's part of their culture and like respect is so huge over there. But he's just proven time and time again this year to be probably the best free agent signing in the league. So,
yeah, he's great. He's pleasant. His facial expressions and everything he does on the mound make him so much fun to watch. Oh, and he's been dominant. He had a bad start. I understand that there is a enormous cultural difference, and we even saw Shohei yesterday. Before his first at bat, he goes over to Carlos Mendoza and tips his cap. How many times have we seen Shota on the mound tipping his cap to the umpire? Like, it's cool stuff that we're learning as Major League fans that we're not accustomed to, and I appreciate it. And, yeah, if I'm Craig Counsell, I said, listen, man, you're not going to have too many of these, so I don't expect too many apologies, but I really appreciate it, and it's really cool. Great story. Last thing, Phillies finally won one out in San Francisco in a day game yesterday. Before the contest, our buddy Matt Chapman brought his dog out on the field, and he got loose during the Phillies infield practice, and all I could do was think about Plouffe. And if he had been on this Phillies team, would you have stopped and petted the dog?
Oh, my gosh. Yes, of course.
Okay, good.
I don't know how you can be mad at that. Look, you're out there, it's beautiful in San Francisco. You're taking ground balls on a big league field. Your team has the best record in baseball. Things are going really well for you, and a beautiful puppy golden retriever comes out. How are you mad about that? And I will say this. If it was somebody I didn't like whose dog was out there, I'd still like the dog and pet the dog. I might say something to the guy. I wouldn't say something to the guy, but I might think something. Matt Chapman is one of the more respected guys in the league, though they didn't care about this at all. This is silly.
All right. This just came in. Our amazing intern, Tommy, said this tweet just came out from Anthony DeComo of SNY. Quote, I want to be clear about this. Jorge Lopez was not DFA'd because of any teammate confusion. He was DFA'd because he embarrassed the organization with his actions and words, throwing his glove into the stands, lying about meeting with management, and offering zero remorse.
Okay.
That's interesting.
There's been a lot of things with the Mets that I would probably say were a little bit worse than that, and guys didn't get DFA, but do you?
Hold on. I want to see if I can find who this is attributed to, this quote. Let's see here. I don't think he's quoting anybody. I think he's just quoting himself here. That's the report that he's getting from people. I don't think he's attributing it to anybody. All right, obviously, we're going to find out much more about it today when the Mets speak, because they will speak.
And we got a show tomorrow too, Chris, so we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. All right, don't forget to get your factor question of the weekend by Thursday night so we can use the best one on Friday's show. We always like making you a big part of this program. So for our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our amazing intern, Tommy, the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Friday here on Baseball Today, presented to you by Factor.